Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Called and Creative podcast. I'm your host, Courtney Miller, owner of Miller Image and Motion.
And I'm also your host, Michaela Steek, owner of Tilladon Photo Company.
For today's podcast, we thought that it would be really nice to put our thinking hats on about how we felt when we first started our photography business and all of the little things that we spent a lot of time and money on that really didn't do much for us in the long run. Because I know that a lot of you guys listening are probably just starting, wanting to start, or trying to get your business going. And there were a lot of things for the both of us that we spent a lot of time and money on in the beginning that really didn't do much for us. So we just kind of wanted to go through some of the things that we felt were kind of a waste of money. And hopefully that will help you guys out. Maybe not make some of the same mistakes that we did or get caught up on some of the same issues that we did. So
I think there's a lot of noise on things you should do, like do this, do this, do this, do this. But there's not a lot of information out there of you probably shouldn't do that. You know, people don't really talk about the things that I wouldn't do again. And so I really enjoy even just posts on Instagram where people are like, let me tell you the things that I would go back and not do because people love to tell you what they would do, but not the other way around. So I think these kinds of conversations are really fun and informational in a way that you wouldn't expect.
I agree. And I think sometimes it's really easy to get caught up, especially in something that you're trying to get more involved in and you may not have all of the knowledge that, you typically would if you've been doing this for 5, 6, 7 years. It's hard to know, like, okay, I watched this video and they were talking about this one thing that they used and they love it and they'd use it all the time in their business. It's really hard to not like see things like that and immediately equate it to, oh, I need that.
Hmm.
And so hopefully this helps somebody out there be de influenced by some of those things.
Yeah. And I think it's fun to listen to like from two different perspectives because
Mhm.
you and I mean, we don't really do like the same types of things. And so like
Yeah,
the things that we like things that you use daily, I may not. And so it's fun to hear from two photographers that do different things. I totally would not buy this. And so it kind of helps you decipher because there are things that probably you do use you all the time that I would not use at all. And so
yeah,
hearing it from multiple perspectives makes you go, oh, yeah, I probably shouldn't buy that.
definitely.
Well, you ready to jump in? I can start with
Yeah,
number one.
go for it.
Okay, so this is probably like my hottest topic. I've seen this talked about many, many, many times on the Facebook groups. But what I have spent the most money on and regretted was Lightroom presets. And the reason being is that many, many, many presets are advertised as one click or magical preset or like, they use this wording to make it seem like because you buy this preset, your work will automatically look like the example photos.
Yep.
That is not the reality at all because your color space settings, your shooting settings, whether you're overexposing or underexposing, the lens you're using, there's so many factors that go into how that preset applies to your photo. And so there is no such thing as a one-click preset. It does not exist. If someone is advertising or trying to sell your preset that says one-click magical preset, it's a lie. Like, it's
Yeah,
not a
run the
thing.
other way.
And so that is like I have spent so much money on presets that I thought would fix my photos automatically, magically, no effort needed, and it didn't work. And so I do have like one preset that was a pretty, like, high dollar I would say high dollar, but, like, I invested in it. It wasn't, like, $5 on Etsy or anything like that, that I took and have changed and created from, and, like, I used that as my base to create my own preset, and so that's kind of how my style started was with buying that preset, but if you like, don't really know your style and you just think, "Oh, I'm gonna buy all these presets to figure out what my style is or solidify my style," like, it's just it doesn't work that way. So, that's my hot take on presets.
I completely agree. I kind of fell into the Lightroom preset trap as well. I spent far too much money, especially like the first like year or two that I started getting into photography. Far, far, far too much money on buying presets, and a lot of, I think, what got me is the selling point of, "Oh, it's a one click and this is how your photos are gonna look." You're gonna get dreamy pictures, you're gonna get really pretty edits, and you don't even have to know, like, how to use the, Lightroom or, any of the other editing softwares or anything. You can just import it and one click and boom, you're done, beautiful images, and it got me. It got me, and I spent far too much money than I would ever like to admit on it, and honestly, while I do get that, yes, it's nice to, like, play around with different editing styles and just kinda see what's out there, I think that for me, what made the most difference was actually when I started investing in education to learn how to use Lightroom so that, yes, I was using presets, but as a base so that when I applied them, I could tweak things to how I wanted them to look. And that's really when I developed what I call like my signature style.
Uh-huh.
And yes, I still use presets to this day, but they're my presets that have evolved from, you know, different things throughout time as I've been kind of, photographing more and more things in more and more places, and they're never one click. It's a base. So I apply it and then I make edits based on the photo. And I think that's probably where a lot of people get caught up, especially in the beginning, because they think, "Oh, I don't know how to use, Lightroom, for example. I'm just going to buy these presets because they seem like they'd make my photos beautiful without me doing anything." And I will say that probably 99.9% of the time, that is not true.
Yeah, and I think you kinda do yourself a disservice if you buy presets and you don't understand what they're doing to your photos. I ran into this when I first got into presets. I actually ran into this with another photographer who did the same exact thing when I was doing outsource editing. Sometimes presets will do like an odd setting. And then if you don't know Lightroom super well, you don't know where that setting is or what it did or how to fix it. And so I can't remember exactly what mine was. I think it was a color slider that I was having issues with. And I didn't know Lightroom well enough to know, oh, I just need to fix that one color slider. Well, now I'm educated enough that I can look at a photo and be like, oh, I need to fix the tone curve or I need to move this HSL slider, things like that. And so but back then I didn't know, and I had the same
Yeah.
thing happen with, a photographer who I was editing for. Both times I was on maternity leave, with my boys, I was an outsourced editor, and so I did editing for other photographers to help, pay the bills while I couldn't shoot or anything. And so I had one client who she loved her photos. She loved her edits. She used a very popular preset that a lot of photographers use. But she was like, I don't understand why I have to denoise every single one of my photos. Like, they're always so noisy.
Oh, it was
Her
adding grain,
preset
wasn't
was
it?
adding grain. Yes. And so
Yep.
she was spending like hours going through, and she was like, I don't understand why it takes you so much less time than it takes me to edit. And she's like, I always have to do all these things. Well, it was her freaking preset. It was adding grain, and she had no idea, and I'm not even dogging on her because I've done the
Yeah,
same exact thing, like but if you don't know, you don't know, and so you're so much
exactly.
better off to just learn Lightroom, learn all of the settings, and it's okay if you don't know everything up front. Like, there are still things about Lightroom that I'm like, "Oh, I would really love to dive deeper." Like, for me right now, I would really love to learn more, oh, what is it called? Color grading. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Yep.
Ugh. I don't know why I couldn't think of what that was called. Anyways, I know like the tiniest bit about color grading, and if I have an image that like needs a little bit, I can do like the tiniest bit of tweaking, but, like, that is one thing that I really wanna dive deeper on, like, I wanna understand color grading a lot more, and so still 8 years later, there are things that I wanna learn and I wanna dive deeper, and so you don't have to know everything up front, like, just start at the top, just kind of scroll your way through the settings, move your sliders, see what happens when you move them, like, and just really have a solid understanding of all of the settings, and you don't have to do it in one day or in one sitting. Over time, you'll learn, you'll master things as you go, but I think that that's gonna serve you a lot more than just buying a bunch of random presets.
I agree. And I think you're right. I think a lot of photographers fall into the trap of like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing and it's going to take me too long to try and figure out what I'm doing.
Right.
So this is a really simple quick fix. I'm going to buy these $150 presets and they're just going to fix everything. And then it doesn't
Feel like
fix
that's cheap these
everything.
days. Like, I've seen ones
Yeah.
that are 3 or $400,
Oh,
and
yeah.
what happens if you
Yep.
buy them and then you hate them? You're just
Yep.
out
Yep.
$400, that's crazy.
Yeah. And they really add up over time if you buy multiple.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there are some, like, I can't remember, it's called Archuletto? Those are
Oh,
really expensive. Is that what
what
it's
is it?
called?
Archipelago or something like
Yes.
that.
I think they're
Yeah,
beautiful. I almost bought them just because I love them, and I'm trying
yeah,
to lean more into, like, a more natural look, instead
mhm,
of more of, like, a brown edit. I was a brown editor for a long time, and I'm trying to move more, like, natural, and so I
mhm,
almost bought them. I was like, "You know, I can just tweak my own that I've worked years and years and years on. I don't need to spend all this money on a
mhm,
preset I can." Obviously, it's not gonna be exactly the same, but
yeah.
at this
I
point, it's
will
better to,
say
like, refine my own than buy another.
yeah, I will say I do like theirs, and I think most of that for me comes from I can't remember when this was, and I don't know if they still do this because I haven't actually bought any presets in quite a long time, but a
Uh-huh.
few years ago, they were doing a subscription, type
Oh.
option with their presets, and so I
Uh-huh.
think it was like 10 bucks a month, and you got access to all of their presets that they've ever made and any that they released, like, within the time period that you had your subscription, and basically, their goal was to release, like, 1 per month, if not, like,
Interesting.
more, and so I had that for a few months and just kinda played with, like, all of their different presets that they had, and I really enjoyed that because it just kinda gave me a chance to just mess around with stuff. Now
How did it
Mhm.
work? 'Cause don't you have
What?
to download a preset?
Mhm.
So, like, if
So
you lost your subscription, would you get to keep what you
yes.
had?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was, like, part of it is that, like, you once you, had your subscription, you got complete access to any of them, and obviously, since it's a downloadable thing, like, they can't take what
Right.
you've already, like, downloaded back if you cancel your
Right.
subscription, but their selling point for not canceling is that every month they released new
New one.
presets, new, like, Photoshop, brushes or actions or things like
Fun.
that that you got access to. And so I really liked that for quite a long time because that was actually, I think, kind of the pivoting point for me of I'm going to take this time to learn Lightroom and figure out what I like, what I don't like, really play around with stuff because every like preset pack that they released was completely different, like night and day difference
Uh-huh.
from what they had the previous month. And so just like being able to play around with them for really kind of inexpensive compared to a lot of the other
Yeah.
like big name preset packs was really nice for me. I don't know if they still do that, I'll have to look
That's
into it,
fun.
but
I think it depends on the season of your business that you're in. If you are in a season of, like, learning and figuring out what your style is, something like that would be a lot of fun just to play with. You
definitely.
know, for $10 a
Yeah,
month, I would just
yeah,
hate to see
and
people spend hundreds of dollars for
oh, same. Yeah,
something that's not really gonna serve them.
yeah, and I would recommend something like that 10 times more over, like, buying some really well-known, like, $400 preset pack
Right.
that's all you get, and you don't get refunds because it's a digital download, so,
Right.
once you buy it, it's yours, there's no refunds.
Yeah.
But
Fun. I
yeah,
might have to look into that just to that'd be fun.
yeah, I'm not sure if they still do it. I feel like they might though, because they were a pretty big. like a couple years ago, like preset and like Photoshop action and
Yeah,
like
they're still
brush.
pretty popular. I see them
Yeah.
suggested quite a bit. There's a few, like, big names that I see a lot.
Mhm. I will say if you're going to buy one, I don't think it's bad if you really do want to make the investment in a Lightroom preset pack, but my thing would be is, like, wait a while before you buy it. Like,
Right.
really, like, don't have it just be like a you find it and you buy it within, like, a 2 or 3-hour period
Immediately.
after looking at
Yeah.
all of their example photos. Like, I would do some research on, like, people who if it's a really popular one, in theory, people should have some, like, knowledge of, "Yes, I liked it," or, "No, I didn't for these reasons." Like, search Facebook groups and, like, ask
Well,
people,
there's a
like
lot of them that have, like, their own Facebook group, and you can, like, post your raw photo and ask for people to, like, put the preset on it so you can kinda see what it would look like on your photo ahead of time.
Mhm.
That's a great way to decide if you wanna use it or
Yes,
not too, without
definitely,
spending the money.
definitely.
I wish I could think of more off the top of my head that I know, like, because I know several that do that, I just can't think of their names, like, off the top of my head.
I'll
Would have
have to
to
think
look.
about it, but, like, maybe if I can figure some of them out, like, we can make a list or something and put it in the description of, like, some of the ones that allow you to do that.
Yeah, we could make a reel too.
Yeah,
That's a good idea. Okay, I feel like I could talk about that all day long.
same. That could be, like, its own thing.
That could be its own episode.
Yeah.
But we still have 9 other points to get through. You wanna jump into the next one? I think you probably know
Yes.
more about this because I haven't used it a ton.
Yes. So number 2 is ND filters or any other lens filters. And the reason that I say this is because I fell trap to a lot of the videos and ads about like, "Oh, if you're just getting into photography, buy these ND filters and put them on the end of your lens and your photos will magically be so much better."
Yeah.
And even like some of the camera shops and stuff that I went into to buy things, like they pushed them too at that point, and so I bought so many of those and I'll just tell you right now, if you are only doing photography, you do not need an ND filter. You just don't. If you do videography, that is what an ND filter is for. And I think that it took me far too long to figure that out. And it's kind of crazy to me that people were trying to sell ND filters as like, oh, you need them for photography when they're actually for video.
I think it's a very niche thing, like, it's
Mhm.
for more of, like, direct sunlight, very stylized type photos, which most people are not doing on the regular basis, and so why spend all this money on something that? Because can't you, like, I don't know a ton about them, but can't you, like, open your shutter, like, super wide and then
So,
still
basically what
not?
it is in a extremely, like, dumbed down version, they are essentially sunglasses for your camera and
Okay,
lens.
that's what I was thinking. So you can,
Yeah,
like, open your shutter or you can open your aperture up
yeah,
and then still, like, not blow it out, basically.
yes.
Okay.
In my opinion, I just if you know how to work your settings on your camera, which in theory, that should be, like, one of the first things that you're really working on if you're trying to become a photographer. If you know your settings, you don't need ND filters for photography.
Yeah.
Now, where this comes in handy with video is because then you don't have to have your shutter speed so far up, which in video, your shutter speed messes with like how you view motion. So, like if my hand
Uh-huh.
was moving, like if your shutter speed was high or low, it could, kind of freeze it a little bit and there could be some, blur
Right.
or anything like that. So, that helps with video when you're shooting in direct sunlight. But for me personally, I just don't think you need it for photography unless you're doing something like, super specific where you do need it. But at that point, you should know like more about what you're doing. And it would be a better investment for you because you know that this is what you need in order to get
Right.
that result. Personally, if you are just starting, waste of money. Waste of money
Yeah.
if you're just starting.
I think the only filters that I've which I have done the pantyhose thing. That can be fun, which is
That's a cheap one,
similar to,
you
like
know?
they have, like, disposable filters that do, like, the same thing basically, but also you can just buy a $1 pair of pantyhose at Walmart and some rubber bands, and it does the same exact thing. So,
Exactly.
I don't know why you would waste your money on, like, a disposable or even any kind of filter for the same effect, but I also personally, like, I would rather edit it to look that way than to actually do the photo that way because it's like you're kinda stuck with that look if you shoot it that way, but if you edit it that way, you can do, like, one or the other, and so that's
Mhm,
how I feel about that, but they do have some fun filters for things like that, but I just feel like there's so much capability with editing now, like, you don't really need specialized filters to do special effects,
mhm.
so that's really the only thing I've messed with, and then I did have some, like, micro and macro lens filters that were supposed to turn, like, your regular lens into, like, a macro or micro lens, and they just don't work that great, like, I just
Yep,
wasn't impressed.
yep.
I
If
just
you
don't think it's comparable to, like, a macro lens,
Yeah, yep,
and they nobody wants them, like, I've tried to sell them, and they've been sitting on my desk for, like, 5 years because
yep.
nobody wants
If
them.
you wanna try macro photography, rent a macro lens.
Yes.
Don't buy the, like, filters. They don't work as well, you don't get the same result. Just rent a macro lens.
And most of the time, most photographers are not gonna use a macro lens on the regular.
Yeah,
Maybe a wedding photographer for, like, rings, or maybe if you're really specialized, like, wildlife or something like that, maybe, but most photographers are not gonna have a use for a macro lens that often.
I agree. I had one for a little while. I used it a lot more in school for, like, specific projects and
Uh-huh,
things. Once I got out of school, though, I never touched it. I thought that it was gonna be something that I would use for ring shots.
uh,
I just didn't because in the grand scheme of a wedding, it's too fast paced for me to switch my
exactly.
lens to take 3 photos of the rings
Yeah,
and then switch it back so that I can get back into, like, taking pictures of the bride getting ready or the groom getting ready or,
right.
whatever we're doing next. So, I don't know, it's just never something that I've used, but
Yeah,
again, not necessarily, like, a bad investment for somebody who wants to get into doing that. I just
right,
highly recommend that, like, I'm just a big, like, if it's something you think you want and you're just starting out and you're just trying new things, rent or borrow
right,
from somebody you know. Like, don't go out and spend a bunch of money on something that you're not even sure if you want or you like
right.
doing yet. Just rent or borrow it or use it and find
Yes,
some way to use it for free or really cheap.
yes. Even if you're gonna spend $100 to rent, like, that's still way cheaper than spending thousands on something that you may not ever use.
All right, so number 3 is extra editing software, plugins, or add-ons. We spent a long time trying to save money with alternatives only to end back up with Adobe, and we lost a lot of money along the way. For me
Yep,
personally, I can't remember what it was called, but there was another editing software at the time that was trying to compete with Adobe, and I started with Adobe and then tried to like, "Oh, it's really expensive, they're gonna charge me every month to, like, keep using their stuff, but I can go to this person, pay one fee, and then, like, own it for life." And so I was like, "Oh, that's a better deal," and then I tried their stuff, and not that it was total garbage, I just didn't like it. And
yep.
then I ended up
There
back
is
in Lightroom
another
anyway.
one, I can't think of its name, but there is another one that a lot of photographers I wouldn't say a lot of photographers use, maybe, like, a small portion, but if you don't use Adobe, basically you use this other one.
Mhm. I know a lot of people now use, like, Evoto or, trying to think of what the other one is called. I can't think of it. Evoto is another really popular one, especially with, like, newborn photographers,
Uh-huh.
which I get because it can do all the skin smoothing stuff, but for me personally, I use it as, like, in addition to, not, like, my sole editor. But again, I feel like it's another thing where if I was just starting out, I wouldn't just start out in a photo, you know?
Right.
I I'm a huge, like, advocate for, like, learn Lightroom and the classic one, not the cloud one. Not that the cloud one's bad, but you could do so much more in the classic one. There
Yes,
are a lot
I
more
agree.
settings and things that you have to learn, but in my opinion, it slowed me down to learn the cloud version and then have to relearn everything in classic when I switched.
Mhm.
And it kind of like my business was going, 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 and then I switched to classic and it like came to a halt while I relearned how to do everything in that
Yeah.
software. And it took me a while to get back up and going with that. But once I did, like I'm so much better for it now because I know
Yes.
how to do everything in there and I just feel a lot more confident. But it would have taken me a lot less time to get to that point if I would have just stuck with it and just learned that from the beginning anyways, and then kind of ventured off in some of these other add-ons and buying the
Mhm.
actions for Photoshop and things like that. Because I got, kind of, I don't wanna say scammed, but, like, I bought a lot of the, like, actions for Photoshop too soon before I knew what to do with them or how to use
Right.
them, and then I felt like I got scammed because I couldn't use them right away, and it I didn't have the time to, like, learn all of the stuff I needed to know before I could use it, and so it just
Right.
took me a really long time to get to the point where I actually could use it. So it was like I bought it too soon, which I think is honestly, I guess probably the problem with a lot of the things that we're mentioning today is that we buy it too soon before we
Yeah,
know
it's
if we
like a quick
actually need
fix,
it.
and then it's not a
Yes.
quick fix, and that's
Yeah.
frustrating. I think this ties really well in with the presets, like, spending the time figuring out what you really want, what you really need, if it's really worth the investment, like, really diving into it, thinking about it. I think that is really important when you're talking about all these add-ons, and a lot of things like, I used Topaz for the longest time, and the reason that I bought Topaz was because I was outsourcing and I had a ton of people who needed Topaz often. Well, now Lightroom has come so far and has gotten so much better that I don't really have a need for Topaz anymore because Lightroom just it does such a good job at denoising and other AI features that Topaz is just obsolete to me. And so there will be things like that that you may buy and use for a little bit, and then another option will come along, and you just kind of have to be prepared for that, that you might make the investment and then something better might come along because we are in a technology age and things are always changing, especially with AI. Things are always evolving. There's always something new and better coming out. And so really thinking about whether it's really worth my time and my money is really important when you're talking about buying some of these things.
I completely agree.
Was there anything else you wanted to touch on as far as add-ons and other editing software?
Not that I can think of. Just really think about it before you buy it, really.
Yeah. So number 4 is actually a hot take between Courtney and I. And I think just because we're different people, but also because we're in
Mhm.
a very different life stage, paper planners. And I will preface this with I made this list, and so that's why paper planners is on that. If Courtney made this list, she probably would not have put that. But um, I think for me, before I had kids, I was a teacher and I sat at a desk all day long. So back then, I did have a paper planner, and it was great because it was sitting in front of me all day long and I was looking at it all the time. And anytime something came up, I could write it down real quick. Well, now I am a mom of two, and my husband is also self employed, and I am a real estate photographer, which means that my schedule changes literally day to day, hour to hour. And so a paper planner would highly, highly, highly just push me back. It would either get pushed aside, it wouldn't get used, or it would never be up to date because everything is changing so often. And at least for me, I think that a lot of photographers can like relate to that, that like your life changes so frequently and your schedule changes so frequently that a paper planner just doesn't make sense. And so for me, I am a hardcore phone calendar user. It is synced to my husband's phone so that he can see all of the things I have going on and vice versa. And so for me, paper planners, at least at this stage of my life, are just a waste of money.
So my hot take with that would be is that I don't know what it is for me personally about writing something down physically, but it like helps commit it to my memory when I physically write something down.
Fair.
And so for me, that's why I have a paper planner. I also use, stuff on my phone as well. So like it's not like that's the only place I have it. But for me personally, I just like to have like a physical place where I can look at like my whole month and be like, okay, these are the days I have something going on. This is like boom, boom, boom. I can just see the whole thing right there. And then I also like to make, like, physical lists of, like, my editing list so that I can cross them off. I don't know why, it just makes me feel like I've accomplished something when I can physically cross something off instead of, like, making a list on my phone on notes and then, like, pushing the button to, you know, say that I did it. I don't know, it's just more gratifying to me that way. I don't know if that's, like, an ADHD thing or what it is, but I just like writing things down physically and then being able to, like, cross them off as I kinda make it through them.
My children also draw and everything, and so if I have
Yeah,
a I will make a physical, like, checklist every single week, and I promise you by the end of the week, it has been colored all over, and so, like, if I had a paper planner sitting out, it would literally become a coloring book, and so
yep,
it doesn't make sense for me, and that's why I preface that with, like, this is a life stage thing, like, once you guys
definitely.
have kids, it may completely change, it may not, you might be great at keeping your planner away from your children, but I am not.
Yeah,
And so I it is heavily dependent on, like, your life stage and, like, just your personal preference. It
definitely.
just doesn't work for me, and that's okay that it does
Yep.
work for you, so
I just think this is one of those ones that, like, there's not a right or a wrong way to do it, like, whatever way, like, works for you, do that because at the end of the day, like, you could just go to Walmart and buy a paper planner for, like, at most 20 bucks, and
yeah.
it's, like, for the whole year. So
I have a weekly planner, it's just, like, sheets that you tear off, and it has, like, Monday through Friday. It was, like,
mhm.
$4.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
guess what? I
So
don't use it because it gets colored on, but it was $4, so, like, whatever.
exactly, and that's like, that could last you for the whole year, at least half the year,
Yeah,
if you used it if you had to buy 2 of them, that's 8
right.
bucks for the whole year,
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things, if that's what it takes for you to be able to remember things better or, like, feel more accomplished or feel more organized or anything like that, I think that is a super small price to pay for that. So, for me personally, that's why I'm okay doing it. Now, if something happened to the planner market and all of a sudden, like, tomorrow they cost, like, $300 a pop, maybe I would think my whole process
Right.
there, but, for at most 20, 30 bucks, even on Amazon, you know,
Yeah.
it's
I
worth it
think
for
the
me.
biggest reason I put that on the list was because a lot of people don't realize all the capabilities you can do with, like, Google Calendar or
Oh, yeah.
iCal on your phone because you can, like, I was able to just log into my account on my husband's phone, so anytime that he opens his calendar, he sees everything that's on my calendar, and
Yeah,
that anytime something changes, it should, in theory, sync with his, and because it's logged in as me. And so, I think a lot of people don't realize that, and especially if you have an entrepreneur husband like I do, it's so helpful to be able to sync those calendars and know, like, okay, he's gonna be here, I'm gonna be here, he needs to get the kids, or I need to get the kids. Like, just having that level of communication is
mhm,
fantastic, especially for us. So, I think that's the biggest
yeah.
reason I brought it up was because a lot of people don't realize that that's an option.
Definitely. You can do that on the Apple, calendar as well. You can, like, share
Really?
your calendar. Yeah, so I can't remember exactly how you do it, but there is a way where you can share your calendar with, like, a specific person, and then I think you, like, have it texted to them, and then they click the link, and then they add it to their calendar, and it
Uh-huh.
pops up as, like, a different color or something like that so that you
Yeah.
know that it's not from your calendar, it's from theirs, and so you can see not only your stuff, but their stuff, and then you can also, like, filter the calendar to see, like, what's on yours versus what's on the one that you've been added to.
Interesting. So mine is like iCal, and I have multiple accounts under my iCal, and so like my Shutter House schedule is like green. And so that's what I've logged into on his phone. So he should see every like all my green stuff is he knows is like mine. But that might be a new feature because we did this like 2 years ago when I first
Yeah.
started. Have to look into that, which I don't know that it would really matter at this point, but
I mean, whatever works is
yeah.
whatever works for you, you know? I don't think
If it's
Google's
not
going
broke,
anywhere.
don't fix it.
Exactly.
Okay, I don't know what's next, but I'm going to look. Oh,
Crop
this is a good one.
yeah, it is.
Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, number 5 is a crop sensor body. Should I talk about the differences between a crop sensor and a full frame? Maybe for
Yeah,
people who don't know.
yeah.
Okay, so if you're a newer photographer, you may not know that there are two different kinds of cameras, and this matters for both DSLR and for mirrorless. And so you have crop sensor, and then you have full frame. Crop sensor is your cheaper, more entry level body. A full frame is more professional grade. It's going to be a higher price point to get into. The difference is the size of your sensor. And so the pixels that you can capture in a crop sensor are far less than you can capture with a full frame, which means editing is a little bit different. You don't capture as much detail, and so you can't do as many things with it, as well as like low light is a lot harder to deal with when you have a crop sensor because you don't have as many pixels to work with essentially. Did I explain that well?
I think so.
Okay, so a lot of photographers, for the reason of price point, start with a crop sensor and then they get into it and they realize they want to get into weddings. They have low light situations they're dealing with, so they need to upgrade to a full frame, which is exactly what I did. It's not bad, it's not wrong. I just think that for me, if I was going back and doing it again, I would have just invested in a full frame so that a year later I didn't have to upgrade and spend all that money.
Yep. And honestly, in today's world, I feel like this isn't as big of an issue as it was like a few years ago before mirrorless came out. But I feel like the introduction of the mirrorless cameras, especially like a few years now that they've been out, the price points for the two of them, there's almost not much of a difference.
Right.
And in my opinion, it's definitely not enough to justify buying the crop sensor like over the full frame, especially if you're buying it with the intention of starting a business or trying to get into
Right.
weddings or anything like that. You might as well spend the extra couple $100 and just start with a full frame.
Well, your full frame's gonna have a lot more capabilities too, not just as far as pixels, but as far as just like settings and different things you can do with your camera. You're gonna have a lot more capabilities with that higher end body than you would with a cheaper one. And so you are probably going to, if you're doing this long term, not as a hobby, you want to start a business, like you're just going to be better off spending the money up front than getting into it a year later and being like, oh crap, I need to spend another few $1,000s to get a nice body.
Yep, exactly.
And if you're already in that place, like I already have a crop sensor, I would recommend going ahead and buying that new like full frame body, but then keep your crop sensor as your backup until you're able to buy another full frame so that at least if something happened to your good, nice camera, you would still have backup.
Always have backups if you're gonna shoot a wedding. Always.
Even for me, I don't shoot a lot of things that would require having 2 bodies, like, I do have a wedding later this year, it'll be my last one before I kinda phase out of weddings, and so I do still have 2 bodies for that reason, but even after that, I'm gonna keep a second body because you just never know what could happen, and so, my second body is not mirrorless because I was not mirrorless until about 6 months ago when my main body crashed and burned very quickly on a random Tuesday, but I just haven't wanted to spend the money to buy a second mirrorless, it doesn't make sense to me.
Mhm.
And so at some point, either when my second body that's just a DSLR, once it crashes and burns, I'll probably buy another mirrorless. But for now, it's a fine backup. Even though it's not as good as the main body I have, it's still a backup to if an emergency does happen, I'm not stuck where I can't take photos.
Exactly. Which honestly, I think some people get a little too caught up of like, "Oh, my backup needs to literally be the exact same setup that I shoot with, so I need to have doubles of every single thing that I shoot with." I don't think you do,
Yeah.
because in the reality, if you're having to reach for your backup, something went terribly wrong, and
Yeah.
really the only thing that you're gonna care about is that you have something that you can reach for to continue to take photos so that you don't have to, leave or not be able to take pictures or I don't even know what if you're at a wedding. That just sounds like an awful situation, but
Yeah. I would argue too that it's good to have a backup that you know really well. Like, for
Mhm.
example, when I got my mirrorless body, I had just got it literally on a random Tuesday because I had to and I needed a body for the next day. And so bought it and then I had a newborn session later that weekend and there was some weird setting that I couldn't figure out on on the job. I couldn't get my flash to go off, and so I just grabbed my second body because I know it. I've been using it for years and years. I was able to use it, no problem. And come to find out, it was just a weird setting, but it saved me probably 20 minutes of like Googling and looking stupid in front of my client. Oh, I don't know how to use my camera.
Yep,
Just grab it. Like, it's great to have a body that you just know really well and can use immediately. You don't have to think about it.
definitely. All right. So our next one is too many lenses too soon. And what we mean by this is rather than going out and buying a complete full kit, like all the possible zoom lenses you can buy, all the possible prime lenses you can buy, pick like 1 to 2 that are, typical normal range, lenses that you could use for just about anything. Master those, try those out, and then if you don't like them, sell them and try something else. Don't just, like, immediately run out and buy every single possible lens that you can just to, like, try it out because that's a lot of money, like, down the drain pretty much just for you to try it. I mean, if you're really that interested in trying, 5 or 6 different lenses, go find somewhere that will rent them out to you for like a day or 2 and try them out like that. But for me personally, if you're just starting out and you're looking for like your first 1 or 2 lenses to try, highly, highly recommend what they call a Nifty 50, which is a 50 millimeter. That I feel like is a super um, just like general, very common lens that it works for portraits, it works for weddings, literally anything you can think of, a 50 millimeter will
It's
work for.
pretty user-friendly too.
It's
I would
super
say
user
it's hard to mess up a 50, and
Yeah.
so very easy. I still have my cheap, nifty they're really cheap comparatively.
Mhm.
You can buy nice ones, like, if you could get, like, a 1.4 Sigma Art, I mean, they're probably what do you think, like, $600? Maybe more than that now.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But you can buy just, like I have a Nikon 1.8 very basic nifty 50, and I think I spent, like, $200 on it new,
Yeah.
and I still use it. Should
Yep.
I upgrade? Yes, I probably should, but I'm, like, in a season where I mostly shoot real estate, so that's the lens I use most of the time. I'm not using my nifty 50 that often, so it's just not worth it to me to spend all that money to upgrade. Maybe at one point I will, but I would say that's a great choice, and just I feel like if you're doing it as a business, it's probably ideal to have 2 lenses just as
Yeah.
backup in case of emergency. So I would go with maybe a prime and then maybe a really good zoom. So like a 24 to 70 or what do you have again? You have a 28 to 70?
I have the 28 to 70, the really expensive one because it goes down to 2.0. But they have a slightly cheaper one that is a 2.8 that so I have both of those, and I
Mhm.
use the 2.0 for photos and the 2.8 for videography because it's considerably lighter than the f2.0. I don't know why, like, the huge like, I'm talking, like, the
Mhm.
other one, I feel like I'm lifting weights, and then, the 2.8 is
My
like
24
a
to 70 is
feather.
very light. It's long, but
Yeah.
it's light.
Yeah, I love the 24 to 70 or 28 to 70. I don't think you can go wrong with either of those. I know Canon makes both in a 2.8, but I think the 28 to 70 is the only one that they make in a 2.0. But to be honest with you, I would do a 24 to 70 or the 28 to 70 2.0 if you're going to go with that, just because I don't think you need to justify the price jump, the crazy price jump, I might add, between the 2.8, and the 2.0 because it's a massive, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but if I had to guess, probably to the tune of like 1,000, if not more dollars.
And I guess if you've been shooting for a long time and you know that you're consistently shooting at 2.0 and getting a 28 to 70 would really like help you and speed up your workflow, it's probably worth it. But like for me, I don't shoot that low very often. If I'm in a low light situation where I have to like really open up, I'm just gonna throw on my 35 or my 50 and
Mhm.
crank it down to 1.8 because I have to. But I don't prefer to shoot that low. I like a little bit crispier images, so I like to shoot a little bit higher up.
For me personally, what made me choose the 2.0 over the 2.8 was I found the 2.0 kind of on sale is what I'm going to call it. I
Uh-huh.
found somebody who bought it and then a few months later like turned around and was selling it. They hadn't even used it. It was literally an open box
Oh my
and
goodness.
they were just trying to get rid of it and like get some of their money back. So I got it like extremely discounted, which pro tip, that is a great way to build out your, equipment is look for, open boxes or people who basically overbought what they were comfortable using, got it, realized that they overbought, and then now they're just trying to get at least some of their money back. That is a great way to buy higher end gear at a cheaper price point, especially when
Right.
money's tight when you're first starting.
I have also like Bedford here in Tulsa, you can rent. And then if you like the piece of equipment, it's a used piece of equipment, so it's a little bit cheaper. And then you can put what you spent on rental towards the purchase. And so
Oh,
that's
that's
actually how
awesome.
I got my 24 to 70. I mean, it's probably a $2,000 lens, and I think I got it for like $400, maybe a little bit less
Wow.
once I put my rental towards it. And so that's how I got that one.
That's a
And I
really great
really
deal.
wasn't even intending on buying it that week, but the deal was so good, I was like, "I have to buy it because I'll
Yep.
never find anything like that," and so that's how I ended up with mine, but now, like, my next purchase is probably gonna be I think it's Tamron who makes the 28 to 150 2.0, I think, or 2.2
Yes.
maybe.
I've been
I'm
seeing
gonna
that.
give that a try. Yeah, I'm gonna rent it probably after my last wedding, in May. I am likely going to sell my, 70 to 200 just because the only thing I use that thing for is weddings. If I'm not taking weddings anymore, there's no point in me having it, and
Yep.
so I'm gonna probably sell that, and then I'm gonna rent the 28 to 150, and I have heard Cassidy Lynn talk about it. She loves it, thinks it's great. She said, "I would probably shoot an entire wedding on this thing." Like, it's just that good, and so I wanna give it a shot, but that's a great way, like, if you don't know what you want or you don't know if it's gonna be worth the investment, like, go rent it and see how you like it first. All right. Number 7 is studio props and Pinterest worthy setups. So, my hot take on this is at least in our area, there are so many rental locations and options that I just got to a point where I had all this stuff that I wasn't really utilizing because it was so much easier just to go rent a spot for, 80 or $100 for an hour, and then you don't have to I mean, you have to pick up before you leave, obviously, but you don't have to haul it, you don't have to store it, you don't have to do all the things, and so, for me, it just wasn't worth having tons and tons and tons of props, and I think it really depends on what you're doing. Like, if you're a newborn photographer, you probably need to have a lot of props and things for your clients. But if you're just a typical like family photographer who's doing outdoor sessions a lot, or you're just starting out, I don't think you have to feel like you have to go out and buy tons of props and have your garage full of things for clients to use because often things get used once and then they never get used again.
I completely agree. When I first started out, I bought a lot of things that, like, I thought, "Oh, I'm gonna use this over and over and over again," and I used it for 1 session, and then it just sat in my house and accumulated dust. And literally, to this day, I'm, like, trying to clean out, like, parts of my house, like, trying to get rid of some things because I even have a studio now and, like, I don't need it in my studio, you know? And so I think I bought a lot of things with the intention of using it that, back then I saw the necessity or the need, but in the grand scheme of things, I really didn't need it. It was just something that I thought would be cute. And I guess it was me trying to set myself apart, maybe a little too soon,
Right.
because in my opinion, by the time that I had my own studio and my own place to where I needed, like, props and things like that, I was, like, past some of the things that I was buying back then,
Right.
because at this point now, I know the things I need, I know the things I don't need, and in the beginning, I bought a lot of the things that I didn't need, thinking I'd
Right.
need them. And
Yeah.
so, a lot of the things I have now in my studio were things that I didn't even think of in the beginning, and, your interests switch too. So,
Right.
my, like I don't know, if I could, like, give people advice for this would just to be for the first couple of years of you shooting, try and really, like, restrain yourself from, like, buying too many knickknacks and, like, random things that you're gonna use for props, especially if you don't have your own, like, studio setup. If you want to own a studio, make that one of your goals, and that's a great goal to have, but make it with the intention of, "I'm going to save money by not buying, little things along the way. I'm going to wait until I actually have a place that I can style and that I need to style, and I'm gonna base that off of when I do finally get it."
Right. Well, you're so right. Your interests change so much over the years. Like the things that were my specialty 5, 6, 7 years ago are not my specialty now. Like the things that I do now are so vastly different. And so, like, I don't really have a need for things because I mean, my things in my personal business are motherhood and, branding. Well, branding photos are so specific to the person and the business. I can't stock things for a million different kinds of businesses. It's just not possible. And
Yep.
it's even, I would argue, better for them to bring their own things that relate to their business. It just makes more sense. And
And it's
then as
more
far as
personal, it's
motherhood,
more
it's kind of the
them.
same thing, They
Yeah.
bring ultrasounds and they bring nameplates and baby clothes and shoes and things that they already have. And so for me, it just makes more sense to have the client bring what they can and want to. And then if we need to rent something, like I know if I do a cake smash, there's a studio probably 30 minutes from me she's a newborn photographer, but she has props on props on props and tons of things for cake smash and bows and outfits. And if I have a client who needs something like that, I know I can go rent out there. I don't have to spend my own money and my own space in my house to stock things that are very rarely going to get used anyways.
Yeah. And I guess I will say that, like, if your end goal is to really get into newborn, like, photography, yes, there are tons and tons and tons of things that you're gonna need as a newborn photographer, but I highly recommend, like, holding off on buying stuff for a little while, and you're exactly right, like, find a studio that is fully stocked and already has all the stuff so that you can, like, go see what they have, go find the things that you like to use. Because 'cause I'll tell you that, like, when I first started newborn photography, I took a lot of advice from other newborn photographers, but there are so many different, like, not only props, but, like, I would say, like, posing tools or, like, pillows or, something to that effect about how you wrap them, like, there's different wrapping techniques. You're going to find the things that work really well for you the longer you do it, and there might be some things that everyone else in the industry ranted and raved about, but for some reason, it just doesn't work for you, and that's okay. But, it sucks to, like, drop a bunch of money on things that everyone in the industry is like, "Oh, yeah, I couldn't do my job without this," than to only find out that, like, you just don't like the way that it works or you prefer something else instead. I think that is a great way to, you know, I if we already have people who have studios set up with all of the things that you could try and use anyways, you might as well go try it and use it, you know? Why spend all your money investing in things that you don't even know if you like to use?
Right. Well, and if you just don't know what you want or you don't know what you need or you don't know what other photographers have, go rent a studio for an hour, not for a client, but just for you to go in, look, touch things. I'm sure anybody who rents out their studio would be happy to let you do that. I don't see why they wouldn't. And so if you're in the Tulsa area, I know Shelly Sims, her studio is between Owasso and Claremore on Highway 20, fully stocked for newborns, cake smash. She has literally everything you could think of, and it's like $40 an hour. It's super, super cheap. And then I think Katie Garcia, hers is a Raw Life Images.
Yeah, hers
I
is
believe
in
she rents hers out too.
I think it's Coweta.
Yep,
Is
she's in
that how you say
Coweta.
that?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, I took pictures of that complex before she moved in there.
cool.
And so whenever she, like, posted pictures, I was like, "Hey, I know exactly where you are."
That's
But
awesome.
anyways, those are 2, at least in our area, that are newborn photography studios you can rent,
Mhm.
sure either of them would be very happy to just let you rent for an hour, come look around, answer any questions you have. Um, but hopefully, if you're in another area, even if there's not a rental that you can find, maybe find a photographer and just ask, like, "Hey, can I pay you to just come look and see what you have and what you use just for educational purposes?" Not everybody's going to say yes, but you don't know if you don't ask.
Exactly.
I would say the vast majority of people would be open to doing something like that.
I agree. I don't know a lot of photographers who would say no, especially if you're willing to, like, compensate them for their time. I don't know a lot of photographers who would turn that down.
Right. I definitely wouldn't. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
$50. Let's do this. That'd be
Yeah,
fun.
if anybody wants, like, information about newborns and, like, the things that I have, hit me up because you can come
Yeah.
chill at my studio for an hour, and I'll show you all the things I have.
Yeah, you can touch all my things as
Yeah.
long as you put them back.
You can play with the stand-in baby I have.
I need to do that. I was thinking about buying one and then I decided not to really get into newborns, but
I
I think
bought,
that's pretty cool.
Jennifer do you know who Jennifer Doubler is? I think that's her last name. She was selling hers when she moved out of her old studio, and I
Uh-huh.
bought hers.
Oh, I would love
So
to go to one of her workshops. It seems like
I
every time
know.
she has one, I am
Yep,
already booked or doing something, so I've never gotten
same.
to go, but I love her. She just has a very, like, storytelling
Mhm.
vibe, and I love that. Alright, are you ready for number 8? You wanna
Yes.
jump in?
Is it my
Ooh, I
turn?
love this one. Yes, it is.
Okay. Number 8 is styled shoots done just for Instagram. Ooh, this is a good one.
Yes.
I love me a good styled shoot, but if you are only doing it with the intention of trying to get like Instagram likes or, for social media in general, and that's the only reason you're doing it, unless it's only like 20 to like $50, it's probably a waste. In my opinion, if you're going to be doing a styled shoot, you should do it with the intention of your ideal client in mind, if that makes sense. So, for example, if you're trying to get into doing like higher end, more like luxury, like black tie weddings, I would look for like a more high end black tie, like elegant wedding styled shoot. And I would go do that so that you can show potential clients this is kind of some of the stuff that I can do. But I will preface, I really don't like it when photographers act like it was a regular wedding. I feel like that's super misleading to potential clients. So, I don't think you need to, like, straight up be like, "Yeah, this is a styled shoot," like, it, like, wasn't a real wedding, but don't act like it was a real wedding. Don't show them the gallery if they
Yeah,
ask
don't
for a full
fake
wedding
the
gallery.
caption of, "Oh, I loved celebrating Mr. and Mrs."
Yeah.
Because that's fake and that's lying.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no, I
agree.
agree. I think that's kind of a hot topic too, of, like, faking it till you make it. I was told in the beginning to fake it till you make it. Um, I don't know if that served me well or not. Uh, I can't say that it served me badly, but at the same
Yeah.
time, it's like looking back, I don't know that that's the most ethical thing to do.
Yeah.
I think you're better off to, like, have that content to show people and say, "Hey, I have not shot a wedding by myself, but can I offer you a discounted price for that reason, so that I can add you to my portfolio?" And, say, "I have done styled shoots with, bride and groom models. Here are some images so that you can see at least an example of my work." I just think you need to be a little more upfront with it.
I agree. I I don't know. That's kind of a hard one to answer about the, like, fake it till you make it one. I don't know. I guess what I've always taken from that statement is, like, confidence. Like, if you walk in the room, even if you, like, don't 100% know what you're doing, if you walk in the room with confidence and you just, you're there, you're confident that even if you can't do it right then and there, you're gonna figure out how to do it. I think that's what clients appreciate a lot more, and
Yeah.
I think that probably the fake it till you make it is probably not the best way to describe that, but
Right.
I think confidence is, like, a huge, like, because if you walk in the room and you're not confident whatsoever in your ability, even if you know that you could do it and you don't act confident, you're gonna, like, scare your client or your potential
Right.
client, and then they're not gonna be confident in you, you
Yeah.
know? So, I would say that confidence is, like, you know, a huge one.
Yeah, and I think as far as styled shoots, it kind of depends on your purpose. Like, if you just feel really burnt out creatively and you just want to have fun and go create something not for money,
Yep,
go to styled shoot.
yep,
Do it. Like, if that is what you want, then that's fine. But if your purpose is to, like, grow your portfolio and grow your clientele, then you do need to be choosing things that are going to serve the clients that you want to have.
mhm,
Like, for me, I would like to go to a style shoot just for fun because I think it'd be a lot of fun.
mhm,
But I don't wanna go to a wedding style shoot because I'm not doing weddings anymore. Like, it doesn't serve me beyond having fun, and so there've been a few that I've looked at and like, "Oh, that's" sorry, "that's fun," and that is, like, I think I would enjoy it, but it's just not gonna serve me long term, and so I haven't, like, spent
exactly.
the money on it, and so I've been looking for I love to go to a branding style shoot, which is not really a thing. I've been thinking about hosting one just because it's not really a thing.
Mhm,
But, or a motherhood one. I've been looking for a motherhood workshop
that would be fun.
one of these days. Okay, are we ready for number 9?
Yes.
Oh, I love number 9. Scoot camera straps. I don't care if it's cute. If it's not functional, you are not gonna use it. So
Yep,
don't spend the money on it.
100%.
Yeah,
I would
I
say that
am actually a hand holder. I don't use a strap
mhm.
unless I'm shooting a wedding, and so
I had a strap for the first long while, and it gave me neck problems. That's all it did. It
tell me
gave me
you're a
neck
photographer
problems.
without telling me you're a photographer. I have neck
Right?
problems.
Yeah. Yeah, most of
I
the
would love
time
to take a poll actually because I know
right?
you do, I do. I need to ask other photographers, "Hey, do you have neck issues?"
Yep, yep. I don't know, the really nice straps are expensive, so I
Yeah.
just all I would say is that if that is what you were going for, spend the extra money to just buy the nice ones.
Well, and if you're buying it because it's cute, it's probably not a good choice. Like,
Yep,
that should not be your primary driver. You should be looking for ergonomical, comfortable,
functional.
durability,
Yep,
functionality. I would
yeah,
say the most functional ones are not very cute. Like the spider holster, that is
not
not
very
cute.
cute.
Not
Yep,
cute at all. But is it
super functional
super
though.
functional and comfortable? Yes.
Yeah,
Which I'm not gonna speak from experience because I don't have one, but
mhm,
from everyone that I've seen, they love them. They're super comfortable.
yep,
And when you're on your feet for 8, 9, 10 hours a day at a wedding, you are not gonna care if you're cute or not. You just
exactly.
wanna be comfortable. Yep. How
I
many
guess I
wear sneakers with their dress? It's not the
yep,
cutest option, but
it's
so
functional.
be it. It's functional,
Yeah.
yes.
I was even gonna say that, like, I would kinda base it off of what your intention of shooting is too, because if you're just doing regular sessions versus, like, doing a wedding, the recommendation of, like, what you should get to hold your camera would be very different because,
Right.
if you're gonna be at a wedding day for, like, long term, I would recommend something like the spider holster,
Right.
or, like, a holster in general, or, like, I'm trying to remember what they're called. The, like, moneymaker, like, dual camera straps, like,
I
those
have
are the
something
types
very
of
similar. Is mine
yeah,
kindly maybe? Mine might be a kindly, but
mhm.
it's like the, is it Moneymaker is what you just said?
I think that's what it's called, but that's not the brand. I can't think of what the brand name
So
is.
mine's similar to that, but it has a crossbody, like, built into it.
But yeah, I
You
think
can
I've
carry
seen
them
those. I think
wherever.
it is Kindly,
I
now that
think
you
it is
say that.
Kindly. It might be a different brand. There's, like, Kindly, and then there's a very similar brand, but that's what mine is.
Yeah,
And I never use it. I only use it at wedding days, and really, I only use it for the ceremony when I'm gonna be carrying 2 bodies, because
yep,
that's really the only time of the day where I'm like, I have to have 2 bodies on me at all times because if one fails, I need it, like, immediately. And
yep,
so and it's nice to have, like, 2 lenses as well, but other than that, like, I'm just hand holding most of the day. I also have, like, a hand strap. It, like, goes around your hand,
mhm,
and I liked that for, like, newborns because I'm
yeah,
always worried about getting on like, over them and then dropping it.
mhm,
What's the likelihood of that happening? Very, very slim, but, like, it scares me enough to, like, wear
yeah,
something, and so I do have that, but I don't use it very often either. It's also
yeah,
a pain in the butt because you have to, like, unstrap it to, like, put your camera otherwise it's just stuck in your hand, so
yep,
it's not that supportive, it just keeps you from
yeah.
dropping it,
It's a
basically.
safety thing, yeah.
It is a safety thing, yep. Alright, do you wanna do number 10?
Yes, number 10 is gear upgrades instead of skill building, which I think we kinda touched on multiple
A
times throughout
lot,
this whole
yeah.
thing. Yeah, but I guess that's probably one of the most important ones that I would hit is that, spending money on upgrading your stuff before you're actually ready for it's really in vain, honestly. Because
Mhm.
if you're not ready for it and you don't know enough about what you're already doing, upgrading is just going to further confuse you and put you further
Right.
behind and more in an awkward situation.
I think this is where a lot of photographers they do the opposite of what they should do. They spend all of their money on gear and then realize, oh, I can't grow anymore unless I'm educated. And then they start investing in education, where really it would have better served you to become educated first and then figure out what you really needed to buy. Like it's actually going to save you money to do it that way. And so, and it's hard to say, like, what education because, like we said, your interests and your specialties are going to ebb and flow, not only with, like, you as you grow as a photographer, but also just your life stage. It's just gonna change, and that's okay, and so it's hard to say, like, "Go take this course first," or, "Oh, go do this course first." You just kinda have to take that with a grain of salt of, like, how you get educated first, but I would urge people to do education before they invest in a lot of equipment and things.
Mhm. Same. I would say that if you are struggling with where to start, if you are just trying to start learning, about photography, start with your camera, learn settings, learn how to switch out of auto and learn how to shoot in manual. I would say that that's probably, I don't know, 80% of the job. If you know
Right,
that, like, you can figure out the rest because that is like the foundation of how you take good pictures is how well you know your camera.
right.
So I would start there personally.
And YouTube is great, but it's not for everyone. Not everyone learns really well in that kind of format. And so think about what is best for you. Like, do you learn best in person in a classroom setting or maybe in a mentorship setting? I know I offer mentorships myself. I've done that with several photographers over the years. I just have one set price. And if you want to sit down with me and ask me a million questions, I'll tell you anything and everything you want to know. Or if you just want to go through your camera with you, or if you want me to go on a shoot with you and help you pose, I can do that too. And so if you just need that like one-on-one, look for a mentor in your area. There's a lot of photographers out there who would be willing to mentor you. And so I also will say, don't expect to be able to have a mentor for free. Those photographers deserve to be compensated for their time. I think the word mentor gets messed up sometimes. A lot of people think it's just like a free opportunity. I think that's wrong in my opinion.
Yep.
Just
They're taking
because
time out of their day to like show you
right.
things, you
Time out
know?
of their business, like, they could
Mhm.
be taking a client during that time or editing photos for their clients in their or spending time with their family. Like,
Yep.
they deserve to be compensated for that, and so do expect to, like, invest in that opportunity, but also, like, if that's how you learn best, then that's probably a great way to invest in yourself.
Mhm.
Well, this has been 10 things that we would not waste our money on if we had life to do over again. Like I've said a few times, take everything we say with a grain of salt. Like we're just two imperfect humans who have figured out this business thing along the way, trial and error. But part of the reason we started the Called and Creative was to help people do things differently than we did. Like nobody sat us down when we started and said, "Hey, don't do that." Or, "Hey,
Yep.
I would start there. Like I would start here and I would do it this way." Like there was nobody when we started to do that. And so if we can be that voice for someone else, even if we just help one person, like it's worthwhile for us to share. So I think that's kind of the heart behind this podcast and everything we do really. Well, this has been another episode of the Called and Creative Podcast. I'm your host, Michaela Seek, owner of Toledon Photo Company,
I'm your other host, Courtney Miller, owner of Miller Image and Motion.
and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.